Who controls the biggest technology, the government or AI companies? Imagine this. A top AI company just told the US military no. That single word has triggered a massive showdown over the future of artificial intelligence. The company was given an ultimatum: either strip the safety features from your AI, the very ones that stop it from being used for mass surveillance or autonomous weapons, or get blacklisted. This forces us to ask the biggest question of our time: who should have the ultimate power over world-changing AI? The government that's supposed to protect us, or the companies that are actually building it? So, who's in the ring? First, you've got Anthropic, one of the world's top AI labs, famous for its AI model, Claude. From day one, Anthropic has tried to be the safety-first player in the AI game. Its CEO, Dario Amodei, has been really vocal about developing AI responsibly. And let's be clear, Anthropic wasn't anti-government. They were actually the first major AI company to put their models on classified government networks, helping with everything from intelligence analysis to cyber ops. But they drew two thick red lines in their contracts. They insisted on safeguards to stop their AI from being used for two things. First, the mass surveillance of American citizens, because they argue AI makes it possible on a scale that could crush democratic values. And second, fully autonomous weapons. Think killer robots that can pick and kill targets without a human ever signing off. Anthropic's take is that today's AI just isn't reliable enough for life or death decisions. On the other side, you've got the US Department of Defense, the Pentagon, under the Trump administration. Their view is simple: America is facing threats from rivals like China and Russia, so its military needs the absolute best tech, period. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth argued that it's not a private company's job to tell the military how to use a tool for what it considers a lawful use. They believe these corporate limits could endanger soldiers and hamstring critical missions. For months, the two sides were stuck in negotiations. Anthropic was willing to meet 98% of what the Pentagon wanted, but on those two red lines, they wouldn't move an inch. And then the talks completely fell apart. Anthropic didn't blink, and the government's response was fast and brutal. They issued an ultimatum: either agree to our terms by Friday at 5:01 p.m. or else. The first threat was yanking all of Anthropic's government contracts, including deals worth approximately $200 million. But they didn't stop there. The Pentagon threatened to label Anthropic a supply chain risk. This is a designation usually saved for foreign adversaries like the Chinese tech giant Huawei. It has never been used against an American company. A move like that would be devastating, basically blacklisting Anthropic from the entire defense industry. As one lawyer put it, it's the contractual equivalent of nuclear war. And if that wasn't enough, officials also floated the idea of using the Defense Production Act. That's a Korean War-era law giving the president huge power to force private companies to help with national defense. In theory, they could use it to make Anthropic remove its own safety features against its will. The deadline came and went. Anthropic stood its ground. In a public statement, CEO Dario Amodei said no amount of intimidation or punishment from the Department of War will change our position. And true to their word, President Trump ordered all federal agencies to stop using Anthropic's tech and begin a 3-month phase-out. Soon after, Secretary Hegseth made the supply chain risk designation official, calling the company sanctimonious and accusing it of trying to strong-arm the United States military. Amodei shot back on CBS News, calling the government's moves retaliatory and punitive. So why is this more than just a boring contract dispute? Because this is a defining moment for the power struggle between Silicon Valley and Washington. First off, it shines a light on the new global arms race. While Anthropic is taking a stand, other AI companies are waiting in the wings. Just hours after Anthropic got blacklisted, its rival OpenAI announced that it had already struck a deal with the Pentagon to deploy its own models. This sets up a dangerous dynamic. Companies with firm ethical lines get punished, while those who are more flexible get rewarded. And this isn't happening in a bubble. Countries like China are racing to build up their military AI, putting massive pressure on the US not to fall behind. That brings us right to this Skynet question. For decades, killer robots were just sci-fi. Now they're a serious topic at the United Nations. The fear is that we're creating weapons that can make life or death decisions without any real human control. Anthropic says the tech isn't even close to being ready for that. Without a human in the loop, who's responsible when it makes a mistake? It's not just a technical problem, it's a moral one. This really is an Oppenheimer moment, where the creators of a world-changing technology are forced to face what they've unleashed. So this is where it gets incredibly messy. Who do you think is right here? Should a private tech company be able to tell the military what it can and can't do with its inventions? Or are these safety rails absolutely essential? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're getting some value out of this breakdown, a like would be amazing. It really does help the channel. So this fight really boils down to the ultimate question for this century. When a technology gets powerful enough to remake our world, who gets to write the rules? The government's argument is pretty simple. In a democracy, the people we elect should be the ones making national security decisions, not the unelected CEOs of big tech. They say the laws we already have are good enough to handle these new tools. But Anthropic and its supporters say the tech is moving way too fast for our laws to keep up with. Dario Amodei himself said Congress needs to step in because the solution can't just be a never-ending argument between a company and the Pentagon. The people who create these AI models feel they have the best grasp of what they can do, and more importantly, what they can't do safely. In that same interview, Amodei framed his company's defiance not as unpatriotic, but as the most American thing in the world, standing up for democratic values against a potential government overreach. And then the plot thickened. When OpenAI announced its new deal, it said the agreement does include bans on mass surveillance and autonomous weapons, the exact same red lines Anthropic fought for. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman even said he hopes the Pentagon offers these terms to everyone to de-escalate the situation. This raises a huge question. Why did the Pentagon agree to terms with OpenAI that it refused to give Anthropic? Was this really about national security principles, or was it about making an example of a company that publicly challenged its authority? This whole mess exposes a huge legal and regulatory gray zone. No one has agreed on international rules for autonomous weapons, and our domestic laws on AI surveillance are lagging years behind. That vacuum has turned into a raw power struggle. Who has the final say? The government, which is supposed to have the sole authority to use force, or the private companies that now control the most powerful tools on the planet? So, a line has been drawn. Anthropic was made an example of, but in the process, it forced a conversation that was happening behind closed doors. Now, the company has already promised to fight the supply chain risk label in court. In the meantime, the Pentagon is moving ahead with other partners into a new age of AI-powered warfare. This was never just about one company or one contract. It's a conflict that will set a precedent for years to come. The decisions being made right now will shape the future of war, the balance of power between governments and corporations, and whether ethics has a place in an era of unbelievable technological power. So the final question is for all of us: who do you trust to be in control? Thanks for watching. If you want to stay on top of how technology is shaping our world, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next one.